Okay, I'm diving head first into the boiling hot controversy that's got social media ablaze. Yes, it's the question of whether Rishi Sunak, our former Prime Minister, is indeed English. Hello, I'm Alex Armstrong, and this is GBN Originals. Now, this isn't just some academic debate over tea and crumpets. It's a cultural firestorm. And some tweets have set it off to a very controversial debate, more so than what a good cup of tea looks like. To get started, I want to make one of my arguments clear from the get-go. Englishness can never, ever be boiled down to just a piece of paper, like a passport or a certificate. It is a mix of ethnicity, identity, and culture. There are four clear ways to look at this. 1. English is an ethnicity. It's tied to your descent. 2. English as an identity is rooted in how you're raised and the culture you live in. And 3. English is a legal status you get as a citizen, that piece of paper argument. And 4, my personal pick, is a blend of all the first 2 points. As I said, I disregard that third point because I don't believe anything can be boiled down to a piece of paper. And here's where my thoughts are immediately. I think that Rishi Sunak, despite his Indian heritage and roots, is English. It's because of his character, his upbringing here, and the way of life that he's embedded into, the British way of life. But here's all the controversy first. The online commentator Konstantin Kisin went viral in a clip just this month, in February 2025, where he responded to comments about whether Rishi Sunak was English or not. And he responded, "He's a brown Hindu. How is he English?" Those were his words. And it sparked a fury, absolute fury online. Many commentators and politicians called it thinly veiled racism, while some insisted that Rishi Sunak is English. And that's where this debate begins and ends for many.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep you safe. Click the link in the description below to find out why over 30 million people have downloaded PIA to protect themselves online. A virtual private network is an app that hides your IP address and helps keep your data private. When you're browsing the internet at home, you give up a large amount of data to businesses, to shops, and indeed to social media giants too. Hackers have the ability to steal your personal data with ease, including sensitive information such as passwords, keystrokes, and even your personal photos. Private Internet Access helps protect your personal data by encrypting your internet connection to keep your data out of the hands of cyber criminals. And it's not just hackers either to be concerned about. Information can be censored too. When Canada passed their C-18 bill, social media giants decided to ban news content on their platforms. But PIA can protect your ability to consume the news and content you love. Private Internet Access is available for Windows users, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and you can use one PIA subscription to protect an unlimited amount of devices. And we've got a huge GB News discount for you too. Click the link in this video's description and you'll get a massive 83% off PIA. That's under £2 a month, the price of a coffee, and you'll get an extra 4 months completely free on top. Also, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee too. Visit piavpn.com/GB News to start protecting yourself digitally today.
The Financial Times describes Sunak as a cosmopolitan conservative, a man whose global finance background and Indian billionaire wife contrast with his hardline stances on migration and other issues in the UK. But does that make him any less English? Well, I say absolutely not. His life here, his leadership, his cultural alignment scream Englishness. Even if his skin tone or his heritage don't fit some narrow, outdated stereotype, that doesn't mean he isn't English. The man acts like any Englishman. In fact, he's more English in some cases than I probably am. Now, it doesn't mean, to be clear, that I'm saying Rishi Sunak is ethnically English. He obviously is not. And I don't think he would describe himself that way either. He is ethnically Indian. But, in my opinion, that doesn't mean he isn't English by other standards. Sunak, Rishi, was born in Southampton in 1980. He was raised in Britain, educated in Winchester College, and then on to Oxford. Very, very proper English institutions, especially back then. Most importantly, he led the UK as Prime Minister from 2022 to 2024. He served as Chancellor and even became a cultural icon at one point called Dishy Rishi. Do you remember that? That was during COVID when the furlough schemes were out, the Eat Out to Help Out campaign. That's not just British, it's quintessentially English, in my opinion. Well, Rory Stewart has waded in on this argument. In my opinion, he's thrown huge amounts of petrol on this fire unnecessarily. He has warned far-right rhetoric is taking over after political broadcaster Konstantin Kisin said that Sunak was not English. Stewart claimed that this kind of rhetoric would lead to the stripping of citizenship from white Brits. It is completely bonkers. Of course, social media has erupted even further. This is tied closely off the back of the Vice President J.D. Vance's comments, where he basically called Rory Stewart low IQ. And many others have dived into this row, claiming it's a distraction from Rishi Sunak's failures in government, like the cost of living crisis or his massive landslide defeat to Keir Starmer in 2024. Personally, I think Rory Stewart has absolutely proved J.D. Vance right. He seems, by his comments, intellectually incapable of having a sensible discussion about this, as well as unable to unpick the complexities of determining what Englishness is. That's all setting aside the crazy hyperbole that he spewed online, of course. But the outrage is real. Sunak's identity does tap into Britain's raw nerves about immigration, diversity, and what it means to be English in 2025. One social media user who states he was born in England but identifies as Indian is a prime example of differing views on this issue. You can't call it thinly veiled racism or far right when people of different ethnicities don't have to identify as ethnically or culturally British. That's their decision. But let's also look at the government data. The UK government website lists 6 types of British nationality alone. British citizen, overseas territory citizen, and so on. But that aside, all of that aside, my point goes back to this. It's about Sunak's English character. Listen to his accent, his conservative values, his leadership style. It all rings English. Sure, his parents come from a different place than England, but he's been shaped by this country. Speaking English is his native tongue. He's living our traditions and leading our people, and has led our people. Well, across social media, the press, users on social media have said that Englishness lies in its ties to Saxon heritage. To others who mock Stuart's Hong Kong birth, saying, is he Oriental? They ask. I'm not sure about that one either. It's chaotic, but it shows this is not a black and white issue, is it? Some cling to a blood and soil view of Englishness, while others, like me, see it as a broader, more inclusive mix of descent and culture. So, is Rishi Sunak English? Based on my argument and my own 2 pence, I'd say absolutely yes. Culturally, he is English, but of course, ethnically, he isn't. That doesn't mean he isn't English at some point in this debate. Of course, some people will always be in the camp that English is an ethnicity, and therefore Rishi Sunak could never be an Englishman. But I think that does the ultimate injustice to our extremely rich culture. His life, his leadership, and his cultural footprint on Britain prove it, and his genetic heritage just speaks for itself. It's easy to get caught up in simple arguments and not have any intellectual discussion about these things without emotions flying high and accusations of racism and so on. But most people have a good and sensible debate about this. And that, in my opinion, is one of the most English things anybody can ever do. Thank you for watching. This has been Alex Armstrong. Don't forget to subscribe to the GB News YouTube channel for more.